And one of the best things about Handrail, in my opinion, is you don't have to have a bunch of guys to do it. I can do 90% of it by myself, and then a lot of the time, my wife will help me install, or in this case, she filmed a lot. But Handrail's not a bad gig. I just trust me. If it was, I wouldn't still be doing it. I think I mentioned this before on my channel, but for me, if you're drilling 7/16 holes or larger, annular cutters are the way to go. It just takes a lot less tool pressure, and you're just not removing as much material. You're just cutting out a circle. So it's much more efficient, and I really like annular cutters. I used a kit that I got off of Amazon, and they're fairly cheap. And I cut a bunch of stainless holes, and they're still as good as new. I'll link those in the description. I'm going to put a link to the guy who makes these oil cans. I got it off of Etsy, and he machines all the parts for it, and it's actually really nice. It's not free. It's really nice. I think it could, it's probably going to last your whole life if you don't drop it or something. This is a 2-inch annular cutter out of that set I was talking about. Every single one of the posts had to have one of these cuts, one of these half holes in the top of it. I'm super impressed with how well it did for being a cheap Amazon cutter. Now you have to keep in mind, stainless steel cutting speed is a lot slower than mild steel. I think I was only running this at a couple hundred RPMs. So if you get this and you have a drill press that only goes down to 1,000 RPMs and you burn it up in the first hole, that's not a quality issue. This is not the ideal way to cut small diameter tubing like this. Usually it creates a lot of vibration, and the bandsaw doesn't like that. I just didn't have a stainless steel chop saw blade, and if you don't use a stainless steel chop saw blade, in my experience, it just toasts it really quick. So that's why I use the bandsaw, but I wouldn't recommend it. These cans are awesome. I'll put them in the description also. The only thing I don't like about them is acetone will evaporate eventually because it's not sealed. But I don't know if you've ever used those square cans that it comes in and how difficult it is to get the lid on and off of those. I just can't even believe that that's the best we can do. These aren't very expensive, and I think they're worth the loss in acetone. This will be the first job that I use my new HTP 301, Invertig 301 machine on. I spent a lot of time looking at TIG welders, and I narrowed it down to a couple companies. I was actually either going to get a Fronius machine or an HTP, and HTP just came out with this one that I got, and it's a 300 amp TIG machine, AC/DC TIG machine, and you can still run it on single phase power. Kavosu just sent me these quick release bolts, and honestly, I gotta say, every single thing that I get from them, I just really am happy with the quality of them. You know, I had some concerns with these, like I thought maybe that nut would rattle loose on its own, but the thread tolerances are so tight, you really need to consciously turn that. It doesn't just vibrate and move on its own. This TIG button works really good too. This isn't actually an on-off, like a arc on, arc off. It's a pressure sensitive button, so it replaces the foot pedal, and I'm amazed at how sensitive it is. It works fantastic. So the way this works is there's one of these at each end of the cable. One of these is reverse threads and one of these is regular threads. One end is threaded and the other end is hollow, and this is how you crimp the cable on. The reason I have this tubing in here is it's going to hide all of this hardware, right? The only problem is this screw is smaller than the inside of that tubing, so it kind of wanders around. So we need to make something that centers it up on here. It's not perfect because I had to make the bushings a little bit undersized because this tubing has a seam inside, so it wouldn't go in and it would hold it off center, but I think that's going to be good enough. It's 8:30, and my shirt is already soaked through with sweat. It's supposed to be 105 today, so that's really good news for working. This railing was pretty technical to fabricate, but the way that it's designed actually made the installation really easy because the tube levels the post for you. So the top rail just automatically holds the posts where they need to go. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to get everything so close. Everything's really tight tolerance for looks, but also it makes it a lot easier for installation. trying to figure out how many posts are on this long side. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skinny ones in the 2 corners. The audio at this place is terrible. Down to the right, down there, are 3 huge air conditioning units for the whole property. That's what that humming noise you hear in the background is. This actually works really good. I always wanted to get one of these, and I thought it would be a little bit underpowered, but it works good. You see in there? Oh, I have this is lift arc. So this is the crimper, and it's preset from the factory, and this is the right size for this cable, and it crimps on the outside. The cable goes in here, and once it reaches a certain pressure, it clicks, so you don't over tighten it. Slips on here. It's a really tight fit actually, and then slide it on so it bottoms out. Usually I slide it on, I don't know, 1/4 inch or so from the end. And then it clicks. And then you release it, pull it out, and this is what makes a real nice crimp in there. These are the little, whatever you call these, bushings. Little bushings to center it on the larger stainless tube. And then start it. Usually do about 3 turns, so I have a lot of room left to tighten the cable. There you have it.